let's assume that I run a foreign company and I've decided to start a Chinese operation. What is the single most important piece of advice that you could give us?
I think the most important thing would be to be prepared, not just in terms of knowing your market or knowing who your partners are, but more to be prepared to face the fact that certain aspects of your company are probably going to have to be operated differently in China than you do in other markets.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I think one of the things that companies have a problem with, especially small to medium-sized enterprises, is that their depth of understanding of Chinese culture and business is very limited. So too often they want to come into China, use the same approaches that they've used successfully elsewhere, and just drop them in plug-and-play fashion with very little localization at all. Mm-hmm. Often that doesn't give them the kind of market traction that they're looking for.
I see. And could you give us some examples of the things that the foreign companies do wrong?
Well, a lot of times they are in such a rush to come into the market that they base their expectations for the enterprise on invalid assumptions. It's not unusual for a foreign company to say, well, if I am conservative and I predict that I can only get 10% market share in China compared to what I'm accustomed to in other markets, then I will still generate X, which would be a perfectly viable business. So they come in, start their business, lo and behold, 10% wasn't a conservative number. They should have been looking at 1% or 0.1%. So they either have no market or they're not addressing the market effectively.
So the problem is lack of market?
It's normally not a lack of market per se, but rather a lack of localization that effectively addresses the Chinese demand.
So what is the foreign company to do? They don't have China-savvy executives and they don't trust the opinions from their local staff.
Well, you're exactly right on both points. Especially small to medium-sized enterprises don't have a stable of China-savvy people that they can draw upon for opinions. And at the same time, strong differences of opinion between the Chinese partner and the foreign partner on the optimal path forward are extremely common. So for the foreign company, the dilemma is when my Chinese partner approaches me and pressures me to take a different path than I'm accustomed to, should I disregard it or should I consider it appropriate localization? At the end of the day, if your company doesn't have business-savvy people in it, you should approach an independent, objective third party who's familiar with both the foreign and Chinese ways of doing business to give you counsel. You should do that at the beginning of the venture and then at several intervals after that. And hopefully what you'll achieve in China is a company which is neither 100% Chinese nor 100% foreign in the way it conducts its operations. Rather, what you will end up with, hopefully, is a more robust hybrid of the two.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
My pleasure.